The rain hammered against the windshield as Marcus drove home through the empty streets of Ashwood County. It was past midnight, and the single father of two had just finished his double shift at the construction site. His body ached, his eyes burned, but he kept going because that's what fathers do. His kids, Emma and Jake, were waiting at home with Mrs. Patterson, the neighbor who watched them when his shifts ran late. Every dollar he earned went toward their future, toward making sure they never felt the emptiness their mother left behind. When she walked out 3 years ago, the storm had knocked out half the streetlights in town, and visibility was almost zero. Marcus leaned forward, squinting through the sheets of rain, when his headlights caught something on the side of the road. At first he thought it was a pile of clothes, maybe trash blown by the wind. But then he saw it move. He slammed on the brakes, his truck skidding slightly on the wet pavement, and grabbed his flashlight from the glove compartment. Something in his gut told him this wasn't just debris. He ran through the rain, his boots splashing in puddles, and what he found made his blood run cold. A woman in a police uniform lay crumpled against the guardrail, her face pale as moonlight, blood soaking through her shirt from a wound in her side. Her badge caught his flashlight beam, the name barely visible through the rain and blood. Officer Sarah Chen. Her eyes fluttered open when he knelt beside her, and she grabbed his wrist with surprising strength for someone losing so much blood. "Don't move," Marcus said, already pulling off his jacket to press against her wound. "I'm calling for help right now." But Sarah's grip tightened, her voice barely a whisper against the storm. "No time, my radio's dead. They're coming back. The men who did this. They're coming back to finish it." Her eyes locked onto his with desperate intensity. "In my pocket. There's a flash drive. Evidence, corruption. Half the department. You have to get it to Lieutenant Morrison. Only him. Trust no one else." Marcus felt his heart pounding as he processed her words. Corrupt cops. A cover-up. This woman bleeding out on a roadside because she'd uncovered something she shouldn't have. He could call 911 right now, but if she was right, if the people who did this were monitoring police channels, they'd be here in minutes. And if the wrong officers showed up first, this woman was dead. And so was whatever evidence she'd risked everything to protect. "Listen to me," Marcus said firmly, making a decision that would change everything. "I'm going to get you to the hospital myself. We're 5 minutes from Mercy General. But you have to stay with me. You have to fight." He carefully lifted her, feeling her body go rigid with pain, and carried her to his truck. Every second counted. Every heartbeat mattered. He placed her in the passenger seat, buckled her in, and pressed his wadded jacket harder against her wound. As he drove, pushing his old Ford harder than he ever had, Sarah drifted in and out of consciousness, mumbling details between gasps of pain. She'd been investigating missing evidence from the property room. Drugs that should have been destroyed but were back on the streets. Money that disappeared from raids. She'd traced it back to a sergeant, then a captain, then realized the rot went deeper than she'd imagined. Tonight she'd been lured to a fake domestic disturbance call on Old Mill Road. 3 officers were waiting. They'd shot her, took her radio and phone, and left her to die in a place where she wouldn't be found until morning. "My daughter," Sarah whispered, her head lolling against the seat. "Sophie, she's 8. She's with my mother tonight. If I don't make it, tell her I was trying to do the right thing. Tell her I loved her more than anything." "You're going to tell her yourself," Marcus said, his voice breaking slightly. He understood the weight of those words, the desperation of a parent who might not see their child again. "You hear me, Officer Chen? Your daughter needs her mother. You're not dying tonight." He pulled into the emergency bay at Mercy General, laying on his horn until staff came running. As they loaded Sarah onto a gurney, she managed to press something into his hand. The flash drive. "Morrison," she breathed. "Only Morrison." Then she was gone. Rushed through the double doors into surgery. Leaving Marcus standing in the rain with evidence that could bring down half a police department and probably get him killed in the process. Marcus knew he should go home. Wake up Mrs. Patterson, pay her for the night, kiss his kids while they slept. Forget any of this happened, but he'd seen the look in Sarah Chen's eyes. The same look he'd had when he promised his own children he'd never let them down, no matter how hard things got. This woman was somebody's daughter, somebody's mother, and she'd made a choice to stand for what was right, even when it cost her everything. How could he do any less? He went back to his truck, pulled out his phone, and searched for Lieutenant Morrison. It took 15 minutes of calls. To the main precinct before, someone finally gave him a personal cell number, though they warned him Morrison didn't appreciate late-night calls. Marcus didn't care. He dialed, and after 4 rings, a gruff voice answered. "This better be life or death." "It is," Marcus said. My name is Marcus Webb. I just pulled Officer Sarah Chen off Old Mill Road with a gunshot wound. Before they took her into surgery, she gave me something. Said to trust only you. Said half the department is dirty. I don't know who else to call, Lieutenant, but I think she's telling the truth. And I think they're going to come looking for what she gave me." There was a long silence on the other end, broken only by heavy breathing. When Morrison spoke again, his voice had changed, hardened with purpose. "Where are you right now? Don't tell me over the phone. Listen carefully. There's a 24-hour diner on 5th and Ashland called Rosie's. Get there. Sit in the back booth. Order coffee. I'll be there in 20 minutes. If anyone approaches you before I arrive, anyone at all in a uniform or claiming to be police, you run. You understand me, Mr. Webb? You run and you call me immediately." The line went dead. Marcus sat in his truck, rain still pouring, and felt the weight of what he'd stumbled into pressing down on his chest. He thought about Emma and Jake, about what would happen to them if this went wrong. But he also thought about Sophie Chen, waiting for her mother to come home. He thought about all the other families affected by corrupt officers, by drugs back on the streets, by a system that was supposed to protect them, but was poisoned from within. He drove to Rosie's Diner, a tired-looking establishment with flickering neon and cracked vinyl booths. The waitress barely looked up when he entered, just pointed toward the coffee pot and told him to help himself. Marcus took the back booth as instructed, his back to the wall so he could see the door. Every car that passed outside made his pulse spike. Every customer who entered made his hand move toward his phone. He felt like he was in a movie, except this was real. And real bullets had torn through Officer Chen just an hour ago. Morrison arrived exactly 19 minutes later, and Marcus knew him immediately. Mid-50s, salt and pepper hair. The kind of weathered face that came from 30 years of seeing the worst humanity had to offer. He slid into the booth across from Marcus without introduction, his eyes scanning the diner before settling on him with laser focus. "Show me." Marcus pulled out the flash drive, setting it on the table. Morrison picked it up, turned it over in his hands, then pocketed it without plugging it into anything. Smart woman. She knew the walls have ears at the station. She knew personal devices could be traced. This is old school, unhackable unless you physically have it. He leaned forward, his voice dropping. "Tell me everything that happened tonight. Every detail, no matter how small." Marcus talked for 10 minutes straight, describing the scene, Sarah's words, her condition, the drive to the hospital. Morrison listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each revelation. When Marcus finished, the lieutenant sat back and rubbed his face with both hands. "I've suspected something was wrong for 2 years. Evidence that didn't match reports. Cases that fell apart for no good reason. But Sarah was the only one brave enough or foolish enough to actually dig into it. I should have protected her better." "Is she going to make it?" Marcus asked. "If she lives through the night, she's got a chance," Morrison said. "The bullet missed her heart by inches, but she lost a lot of blood. The next few hours are critical." He locked eyes with Marcus. "You saved her life tonight, Mr. Webb, but you also put yourself in danger. The officers involved in this, they're not going to stop. They've already tried to kill a cop. They won't hesitate to come after a civilian witness." "What do I do?" Marcus asked, feeling the reality of his situation sink in. Morrison pulled out a card and wrote a number on the back. "This is a direct line to the FBI field office in Columbus. Agent Rachel Torres. She's been wanting to investigate corruption in county departments but needed evidence. This flash drive, if it contains what Sarah thought it did, will give her everything she needs. But I need time to secure the scene, to lock down the officers Sarah identified before they run or destroy more evidence. Can you lay low for 24 hours? Keep your kids safe? Don't go to work? Don't follow your normal routine?" Marcus thought of his construction shift tomorrow, the money he'd lose, the bills piling up at home. Then he thought of Emma and Jake waking up to police at their door, or worse, waking up to men with badges who weren't there to protect them. "I'll take them to my brother's place upstate. He owes me a favor. We'll leave at first light." "Good man," Morrison said, standing. "I'll have patrol cars watching your street tonight, officers I personally trust. Pack what you need, say goodbye to no one, and get out of town. When this breaks, and it will break in the next 48 hours, you'll need to come back and give a statement. But right now, the best thing you can do for Officer Chen and for your family is disappear." Marcus drove home as the rain finally began to ease, dawn threatening at the horizon. Mrs. Patterson was asleep on his couch, and his children were tangled in their beds the way kids sleep, without worry or fear of what tomorrow might bring. He woke the neighbor gently, paid her double, and thanked her. Then he started packing bags, moving quietly through the house, gathering clothes and toys and the important papers he kept in a fireproof box under his bed. Emma found him around 6 in the morning, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "Daddy, where are we going?" She was 9, smart as a whip, and she could read him better than anyone. Marcus knelt down to her level, pulling her into a hug. "We're going on an adventure to Uncle Derek's for a couple days. Remember his place with the big yard and the tire swing? Jake's going to love it." "Is something wrong?" she asked, her small hands gripping his shirt. He wouldn't lie to her, but he wouldn't scare her either. "Daddy helped someone last night who was in trouble. And now, I need to make sure we're safe while some very good people handle a very bad situation. But we're going to be fine, sweetheart. I promise." They left Ashwood County as the sun rose, Marcus checking his rearview mirror every 30 seconds. His brother Derek lived 3 hours north, a mechanic with a property far enough from everything that Marcus felt like they could breathe. When he finally pulled into that long gravel driveway and saw Derek come out of his garage with a wrench in hand and concern on his face, Marcus felt some of the tension leave his shoulders. "What kind of trouble are you in, little brother?" Derek asked after the kids ran off to explore the barn. Marcus told him everything, and Derek listened with the same calm intensity he brought to fixing engines, finding the problem and working out the solution. "You did the right thing," he said finally. "Not the safe thing, not the easy thing, but the right thing. Those kids in there, Emma and Jake, they're going to grow up knowing their father is someone who stands up when it matters. That's worth more than any amount of money or safety." For the next 36 hours, Marcus lived in a state of suspended reality. He played with his kids, helped Derek in the garage, tried to act normal while his phone stayed silent. Then, on the second morning, Morrison finally called. "Turn on the news," was all he said. Marcus found a television and flipped to the local news station. The headline running across the bottom made his breath catch. "Major corruption bust in Ashwood County. 5 officers arrested, including police captain." The reporter stood outside the precinct, explaining how an FBI raid at dawn had resulted in multiple arrests, seizure of evidence, and the exposure of a drug trafficking ring operating within the police department itself. Officer Sarah Chen, described as a hero, had survived surgery and was expected to make a full recovery. Her evidence had cracked the case wide open. "They're trying to find you," Morrison said over the phone. "Every news outlet wants to interview the civilian who saved the whistleblower cop. But Torres at the FBI agrees with me. You should stay quiet for now. There are still dirty officers out there who slipped through the net. Give it a few more weeks, let the legal process play out. Then we'll bring you back for your statement." "Is Officer Chen really okay?" Marcus asked. "She's asking to meet you," Morrison said, and Marcus could hear the smile in his voice. "Says she owes you her life and her daughter's future. Maybe when things settle, we can arrange that." 3 weeks later, Marcus stood in the lobby of Mercy General Hospital, his hands shaking slightly as he waited. Emma and Jake were with him, freshly scrubbed and on their best behavior, because Daddy said they were meeting someone very important. When the elevator doors opened and Sarah Chen walked out, still moving carefully but alive and whole, Marcus felt emotion surge up in his chest that he hadn't felt in years. She crossed the lobby and wrapped him in a careful hug, mindful of her healing wound. "I don't have words," she said, her voice thick. "You could have driven past. Most people would have, but you stopped and you fought for me, and you risked everything for someone you didn't even know. You would have done the same," Marcus said simply. "Maybe," Sarah smiled, "but you actually did it. You're a hero, Marcus Webb, whether you want that title or not." She looked down at Emma and Jake, then knelt carefully to their level. "Your dad is the bravest person I've ever met. You should be very proud." A little girl came running from the elevator, dark braided hair flying behind her, and launched herself into Sarah's arms. "Mama!" Sophie Chen held on like she'd never let go. Sarah held her daughter tight, tears streaming down her face, and looked up at Marcus with gratitude that transcended words. 2 single parents, 2 children who almost lost everything, brought together by one choice on a rainy night when someone decided to stop instead of drive past. Morrison appeared from around the corner with Agent Torres, both wearing satisfied expressions. "The captain and 3 officers took plea deals this morning," Torres said. 14 more are under investigation because of your bravery, Officer Chen, and your integrity, Mr. Webb. We're dismantling the largest police corruption ring this county has ever seen. Millions in drugs are off the streets. Dirty cops are in handcuffs instead of uniforms. What happens now?" Marcus asked. "Now you go home," Morrison said. "Back to your life, your kids, your work. The trial will happen, You'll testify. And then hopefully you can put this behind you. Though something tells me Officer Chen might stay in touch. Sarah stood, taking Sophie's hand. Count on it. My daughter wants a play date with your kids, and I owe you approximately 1,000 cups of coffee and a lifetime of friendship. 6 months later, Marcus stood in his backyard watching Emma and Jake play with Sophie and her friends. Sarah was helping him grill burgers, both of them laughing about something mundane and perfect. The trial was over, the guilty were sentenced, and Ashwood County had begun the long process of rebuilding trust in its police department with Morrison, promoted to chief, and Sarah, Chen as his second in command. You ever think about that night? Sarah asked quietly, flipping a burger. Every day, Marcus admitted. I think about all the ways it could have gone wrong. All the reasons I should have just called 911 and kept driving. All the danger I put my kids in. But you didn't, Sarah said, meeting his eyes. You saw someone who needed help and you helped. You didn't know if I was a good person or a bad person, innocent or guilty. You just saw someone dying and you decided their life mattered. That's not weakness, Marcus. That's the strongest thing a person can do. He watched his children playing, their laughter carrying on the evening breeze. They were safe, they were happy, and they were growing up, knowing their father was someone who did the right thing when it counted. Sarah's daughter was alive because of choices made on a dark road in the rain. Families were safer because corruption had been exposed. Lives were saved because one man decided to stop. You know what the crazy thing is? Marcus said with a small smile. I'd do it all again. Every terrifying, dangerous second of it. Me too, Sarah said, raising her water bottle in a toast. To doing the right thing, even when it's hard. Marcus clinked his bottle against hers and looked at the family he had, the friend he'd gained, and the lives that had been forever changed by one rainy night when a single dad found a dying cop and decided that one person's life was worth risking everything for. In a world that often felt dark and complicated, sometimes it really was that simple. Sometimes heroism was just stopping when everyone else drove past. Sometimes changing everything started with one choice, one moment, one person deciding that another human being's life had value.